Hey guys, what's up? Most of you know me from my gaming content, primarily Delta Force, soon to be Battlefield, but I do a bunch of Cowboys stuff on the side as well. That being the Dallas Cowboys. I'm a huge Cowboys fan, as you can see behind me, all sorts of Cowboys stuff, and on my Twitter is where I typically engage and talk about the Cowboys, but I do occasionally post a video or two on YouTube, especially during the season. Now, something huge has happened with these Cowboys. Micah Parsons has requested a trade. Now, a lot of people are up in a roar about this. It's a nothing burger to me, and I'll tell you why. Jerry Jones and the front office hold all the cards. During the Dak Prescott contract negotiations, Dak held all the cards. They had no replacement in place. Dak was going to walk after that season. There was no cards for Jerry to hold. He backed himself into a corner. They tried doing some stuff with Trey Lance, didn't work out, and so Dak held all the cards and he knew it. So Cowboys eventually caved, and Dak got signed right before the first game of last season. Now, in this situation, Micah holds like no cards. Really, the only thing Micah holds is loyalty in the locker room. And you don't want to go into a season with all of your players pissed off, everybody rallying around Micah against the front office. That's a bad look and a bad way to go into a season, and definitely a recipe for disaster. But as far as Micah's actual contract goes, the Cowboys can still franchise tag him in 2026. They can still franchise tag him in 2027. It's expensive as heck, but that's their obligation. If they want to do that, they can do that. All right, so Jerry knows that, and that's why Jerry's really playing hardball with his Micah Parsons stuff. Micah and Jerry and Steve and all them met apparently sometime earlier this year, had negotiations, Jerry and Steven thought, but it turns out it was just Micah and Steven and Jerry talking, and there was a misunderstanding there as far as the intent of those conversations. Micah's saying in his note that he put out on Twitter that Jerry and Steven and all them haven't even discussed any contract stuff with Micah's agent, which I feel like that sounds true. I didn't really believe it at first, some of the rumors around that, but the way Micah's kind of playing it, and he really fleshed it out in his note that he put out online. So some really good information there. I believe Micah on this. I think Jerry knows he holds the cards, and they're playing hardball because they thought they had an agreement. It was probably a very favorable agreement because it's the player talking with the owner, the GM, not the agent. The agents know what's up. I hate agents. They're a pain in the butt because they really do hold up a lot as far as these negotiations go, but the agent should be present during these conversations, and he wasn't. So the conversations that Micah had with Jerry and Steven really weren't anything but just talk. There's some chatter, and it was very unserious according to Micah. So the fact that Jerry and Steven haven't even spoken with Micah's agent, like I said, I think Jerry knows he holds all the cards, but I think it is a bit of malpractice on this front office. Not a little bit, it's actually a lot of malpractice to not try and get this deal done. Micah's going to be the highest edge player in the NFL. It's probably going to be a 4-year term. Maybe there's injury clauses, maybe there's not. I mean, we don't really know from a fan's perspective exactly what the holdup is. I mean, according to Micah, the holdup is they haven't even had conversations yet. But when the conversations are happening, we like to pretend that we know everything that's going on behind the scenes. We don't. The only thing we know is what Jerry and Steven are saying to the media, which is a bunch of garbage. I wish they would stop doing that. Every Cowboys fan is sick of that. They need to just have these conversations behind closed doors. They don't need to be throwing players under the bus, talking about they don't want to pay guys because of injury concerns. That was something else Micah put out in his tweet and his note, I should say, that he was upset that they threw him under the bus with some of the injuries that he's had. But Micah plays his heart out, and that's the last guy that I would be throwing under the bus. He's not necessarily the leader they want him to be at the moment, but he's maturing and progressing that way. It seems he was part of all the offseason activities. It seems like he's maturing in that way. And he's still an emotional guy, though, and so to throw him under the bus, I think, is also a bit of malpractice on this front office's part. But with all that said, I'll believe that Micah gets traded when I see it. I really don't see that happening, and if he does, it's going to be a haul. But I would say a 1% chance or less that Micah actually gets traded. I think Jerry would franchise him twice in 2026, 2027, make him play this year. I don't think Micah's going to sit out a bunch of games, right, and forfeit these game checks. I mean, he's still got to put film on tape as well for these other teams to want to sign him, or not sign, but trade for him and then extend him. So I just don't. I feel bad for Micah, but he really doesn't have many cards here on the table other than you know, some of the loyalty he has in the locker room and some of the malcontent forming around this team and their culture. So with that said, let me know what you guys think in the comments, and I'll catch you later.